because the comfort zone is where dreams go to die. You want to challenge them to look beyond their comfort zone, because in order to do something you've never done, you've got to become someone you've never been.
Les Brown is a legend in motivational speaking and a best-selling author who's moved audiences for decades. Get ready for stories that push you to act.
Trust me on this. Whatever you're going through, I've got a saying, as life knocks you down, try and land on your back, because someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Do you hear me? Don't allow people to drain you. If you allow people to drain you and to use you and abuse you, they will. You've got to hold yourself to our highest standard.
Welcome to the Swedish Wealth Institute podcast. I am your host, Daniel Wood. Our mission here at the Swedish Wealth Institute is simple: to connect you with the right mentor at the right time so you can take the next step towards your goal and dream life. And because we believe in giving first, every episode we run starts with a free special gift to help you grow even faster. Today's gift is the Wealth Blueprint. It's a practical plan for money, health, relationships, and missions. You'll find the link to the Swedish Wealth Institute website in the show notes so that you can go and download that report. You just scroll down on the Swedish Wealth Institute website and fill out your details, and we will send that to you right away. And now, get ready. Today's guest is Les Brown, one of the most amazing motivational speakers of all time. He's about to share how you can harness your story and ignite unstoppable confidence. If you want more episodes like this, make sure you follow the show, subscribe on any platform where you are listening to this now. We bring you world-class mentors every single week, always with a free gift to help you grow. All right, let's dive in. You are obviously one of the most famous, well-known speakers in the world. But at school, you were diagnosed with a speech impediment. When did you decide to be a major speaker? Like, when did you want to make that your calling?
Well, in school, they labeled me educable, mentally retarded, and they put me back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade. And I failed again when I was in the 8th grade. But when it comes to speaking, I had the good fortune of seeing Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Billy Graham, Malcolm X, and they inspired me. But I had this high school instructor who told me, Mr. Brown, if you want to make it in life, he says, there's 3 things that's very important. 1, you don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. He said, develop your mind. 2, practice OQP, only quality people. You earn within $2,000 of your closest friends. I got all my broke friends out of my life, but I heard that one. And 3, he said, develop your communication skills. Because once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. And that served me very well. And I think that right now, when we look at this AI, that people must develop their minds, be resilient, be adaptable, be flexible, being willing to learn, and also to express themselves, to sell their ideas, to lead a movement, to become a force for good, for harmony, and galvanizing people for a worthy cause.
Yeah, I love it. One of the questions that our community really wanted to ask, because we have a lot of people in our community that want to become speakers and want to be, successful speakers like yourself. And there are so many thousands of people around the world trying to do this. Why did you become famous and not them? Like, what did you do differently from everyone else?
That's a good question, because I remember when I joined the National Speakers Association and someone said, listen, there are over 3,000 speakers here and you don't have any college education, you have no corporate experience, and you don't stand a shot, and you don't have the money. Tony Robbins had an infomercial. He had investors that paid for him to be on television every hour around the world for years. And one of the things that I decided to do, I trained speakers. And I wanted to find a way in which I could stand out. And everybody that's watching us now, whatever they're doing, if they're a coach, if they're a speaker, they're an entrepreneur, they want to find a way that they can have a greater impact and create more value. The speaking industry is governed by the Dale Carnegie course, which is a very good course. And they teach Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. And I believe that where we are, that you have to find out who they are. So I train myself. I read constantly, and I always share with my speakers, never let what you want to say get in the way of what your audience needs to hear.
Right.
Find out who they are, what's stressing them out, what are the challenges they're facing, what's the unspoken conversation, and custom design your presentation to meet that. The other thing that is very important, many speakers just want to tell their story. Well, everybody's got a story. And if you got a real bad story, 80% don't care and 20% glad it's you and not them. Okay. And so I teach speakers how to use their stories strategically to take the audience individually and collectively to a place in themselves that they can't go by themselves, and to orchestrate an experience. Many speakers, they focus on an information dump, providing information. Well, people can go to ChatGPT and get the information. You want to create an experience with your audience and how you became the person that you are. And as a result of that, orchestrating that experience. Oliver Wendell Holmes said that once a man or woman's mind has been expanded with an idea, concept, or story, it can never be satisfied to be going back to where it was. So the key is to speak in a way that people don't just hear you, but they feel you and become self-persuaded to make some new choices in their lives.
That's beautiful. So you are hitting people where they are rather than from where you are.
And I find out a lot about them and about their industry and develop working knowledge of their industry so that they know when I start talking, he knows what I do. He's familiar with the craft and the skill set that we need in order to be competitive and moving in the direction of dominating our niche.
Brilliant. So walk us down kind of that process. You walked in, there are 3,000 other speakers there. They're saying you're underqualified, you're underskilled, you can't do this. Like, how did you rise to the top? Like, what did you do outside of just the practical, like, you're an amazing speaker? How did
Impact drives requests. I say to speakers now, when you speak, like 97% of my speaking engagements as a result of repeat business and referrals. So you know that your presentation is strong when at the end of your presentation, people are asking you for your card and saying, how can we get in touch with you? What's your email? So that we can develop a connection and we can engage you to come speak to our organization or speak to our corporation or be a part of an event that we're having. And so you always want to look for ways in which you can do what you do and make it more impactful. I see a lot of speakers, they depend upon PowerPoints. I remember the first time I spoke for Procter & Gamble. When I first started out, I didn't have a PowerPoint. And I was the only one there that did not. And when I walked in the room before this panel and you had to make a presentation, they said, Mr. Brown, where's your PowerPoint? I said, I am the PowerPoint.
That's a good one, though. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, go ahead. And I got the contract and subcontracted with the other individuals that had college degrees and years of experience I didn't have.
Oh, that's brilliant. So how did you get out? Because one of the things I feel about you that is different from a lot of speakers is you're not just famous on the speaker circuit. You're part of culture. People know who you are, even though they're not like in our sub industry. How did you go from purely speaking to becoming a global phenomenon?
I did a lot of volunteer speeches. A calling, and I see what I do as a calling. A job is what you get paid for. A calling is what you're made for. And a calling is something that you love so much that you do it for nothing. And you do it so well that people will pay you to do it. So I used to speak at elementary schools, high schools, colleges, prisons, any place that they needed a speaker. I would do my research and I'd volunteer to speak to them free to develop my skill set and the level of confidence that I needed. For years, I didn't do it for 14 years because I felt that not having a college education was going to work against me and no corporate experience. How could I develop the credibility to have AT&T, Procter& and Gamble, McDonald's Corporation, General Electric, IBM, Xerox, and these are clients that I have now. What can I do that will for them to say, I want him to come in? If you go online, you will see a presentation I have called It's Not Over Till I Win. And that presentation, I spoke before 80,000 people in the Georgia Dome. It's still there. Millions of people have seen it. And the guy who had the event named Dexter Yeager, he had a cassette tape. Now, mind you, I'm 80, so I've been around for a minute or two. And
I even had cassette tape, so you're not that old. You're all right.
Okay,
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, yes. And he heard that cassette tape where I talked about how I became a disc jockey. You got to be hungry. And he said, I want him. He had a choice of Tony Robbins, of Robert Schuller, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, who wrote The Power of Positive Thinking, Jim Rohn, who said, when the end comes for you, let it find you conquering a new mountain, not sliding down an old one. But that story of determination and being relentless and unstoppable in pursuit of the job that I was seeking, that touched him. And so I think that now leaders, entrepreneurs, business people, they are the storyteller for their business. Steve Jobs said the storyteller is the most powerful person in the world. And why is that? Is that we, all of us, how we live our lives is a result of the story we believe about ourselves. So when we speak, when you are before an audience, one-on-one, small groups, a large group, what you do is distract, dispute, and inspire. You distract them from their current story. You get the audience into their imagination by asking some strategic questions to get them to start looking beyond their comfort zone, because the comfort zone is where dreams go to die. You want to challenge them to look beyond their comfort zone, because in order to do something you've never done, you've got to become someone you've never been. And so you distract, dispute, and inspire. They go into their imagination and they develop the courage to start making new choices in their lives that will allow them to become unstoppable and relentless into pursuit of their goals and their dreams.
So when you come into an event like that with 84,000 people, and as you said, you want to speak to where they are rather than where you are, how do you do that to 84,000 people that all have unique lives and are in a unique place?
Well, there are some universal things that we have in common, all of us. Think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization. The majority of people on the planet, they know intuitively that there's another dimension of themselves. And so most people have a yearning, a hunger, as I love to say, to do more than what they're presently doing. Now, the masses, for the most part, because most people have been programmed to consume entertainment. And what separated me from the rest, because majority of speakers have one signature message. I have a variety of messages. I never give the same speech ever, because I'm going to always do my homework. There'll be some elements in it, like as you think about your goals and dreams, it's possible that you can do this. I can't tell you that as I look at myself and look at my goals and dreams, I can't tell you I knew I could do it. I didn't know, but I knew it was possible that if anybody at any point in time had a goal and dream they wanted to achieve, that it's possible. The second thing is it's necessary. You've got to look at what is it you need to do? What is it about you that you must now let those choices, those behaviors, those relationships go, so that you can begin to embrace and develop yourself for that future you. There's another dimension of you, and it can only come out, that transformative experience, when you're willing to read, when you're willing to study, when you're willing to have dedicated curiosity of how to get to the next level. Because all of us are in that place that Einstein said, that the thinking that has brought me this far has created some problems that this thinking can't solve. So when you think about over 300 million people around the world, they're intimidated by artificial intelligence. Well, I believe that when you have a competition that you see, as something that can eliminate your job or your organization, your company, you've got to decide, what am I going to do creatively? What innovation must I implement that will allow me to be able to make myself and the value and the service I provide irreplaceable? Artificial intelligence is a scraper. We have to be creative continuously. I came along during a time with Tammy Terrell and Marvin Gaye, and they had a song called Ain't Nothing Like the Real Thing, Baby. You are the real thing. This is a time that you have to be your own boss. This is a time that you have to engage in and develop the inner conviction and honor yourself and saying, I'm going to that next level and I'm willing to do what's necessary to get me there.
I love that. I love that. You've mentioned a couple times.
Okay.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple times, you've got to be hungry. That's one of the things you're most famous for. Where did that come from?
Well, when I got involved in speaking, I used to be a state legislator and radio personality. And my baby sister called me and said, Leslie, are you sitting down? And I asked, what's wrong with Mama? She said, Mama has breast cancer. I said, I'll be right there. And she said, oh, no, you don't have to come. I was a state representative in Columbus, Ohio. I said, I'll be right there. They said, listen, Les, they've got a variety of nursing homes here. And I said, listen to me. Don't touch her. I promised my mother when I was a kid, Mama, when I become a man, I'm going to take care of you. I was one of the 7 children that she took in as foster kids because my twin brother and I, we were put in foster care. And then ultimately, Mama adopted us. When I speak, I said, God took me out of my biological mother's womb and placed me in the heart of my adopted mother. So there was a battle between me and my brothers and sisters because I had a problem. I said, look here, how can one woman raise 7 children she didn't give birth to, but 7 grown people can't take care of one woman? No, she's not going to a nursing home. And the next day when I flew back to Miami, I rang the doorbell and a friend of hers, Miss Mildred, was at the house and she came to the door. She said, oh my God, it's Leslie. And I heard my mother ask in the background, Mildred, who is that at the door? And she said, Mamie, it's Leslie. And I heard my mother say, I knew he would come. I knew he would come. And I think all of us, if we think about it, there's someone that sacrificed, someone that decided that they're going to be there for us, that they have our back, that they were the go-to person to help us to become the person that we are now. And I believe there's a sense of oughtness, that there are certain things we ought to do. And part of that is looking out for our parents. Yeah, and that's the driving force. That's my why. When you're hungry for something, that is something that gives your life meaning and value. It's something that fuels your unstoppable, relentless energy that you refuse to be denied. It's a non-negotiable. You're willing to do the hard stuff, whatever that is. You're willing to give up who you've been to give birth to who you have it within yourself to become. And that hunger, the hungry dog gets the bone. That hunger, fueled by energy, by passion, by determination and drive, and the willingness to honor yourself and the people around you by giving your best at all times in all circumstances and situations.
That's powerful. I want to ask, because I know, when someone's on stage and they're listening to you when you're standing up there, often they will start telling a story in their head, like, well, of course, Les can do it because he's Les Brown. My story is different. But obviously, you've come from hard times. You talked about that, going through foster care, about being classified as mentally retarded. Like, share your story. How did you start? Like, how?
Well, let me
walk us down memory lane.
But I want you to look at what you just said, that people say, well, that's Les Brown. I don't have a down and out story. Marianne Williamson, she's a speaker. She has given a speech on The Course in Miracles, a book that changed her life. The lady who wrote the book named Helen, she would even allow her name to be in it. She had a download of inspiration and wrote that book. And that book changed Marianne Williams's life. And she's gone around the world just talking about the impact of the Course in Miracles had on her life. So you don't have to have a down and out story. That's number one. The other thing is that when you're speaking, you want to listen to the listening. I ask questions. Ladies and gentlemen, as we look at ourselves in this era of accelerated change, overwhelming complexity, and tremendous competition, I want to ask you a question. How many of you know if you had your life to live over again, you could have done more than what you've done thus far? Raise your hands, please. Very good. I want you to listen. I'm going to share some things with you on how I became the person that I am now, and the things I had to overcome in order to get here. And how many of you know that in life, you're going to have pushback? You know, Walt Disney, he filed bankruptcy 7 times and had 2 nervous breakdowns. I want you to think about the things that you want to do and what's the non-negotiable that you're willing to sacrifice, that you're willing to take responsibility to make it happen. Winston Churchill said, the people that make things happen in life, they decide that I'm going to do this. Become a no matter what person. A.L. Williams said, all you can do is all you can do. And all you could do is enough, but make sure you do all you can do. And so when you think about your goals and dreams, you've got to be all in. It requires a commitment. Most people are involved in life, but those who have goals and dreams, who are hungry, they are committed to living a greater life. And the next time you have bacon and eggs, look at it. The chicken was involved, but the pig was committed. He had to give it all up. So you use quotes, stories, and examples, and how you present yourself in a way that you're transparent, that the audience can identify with you and be able to go on this journey that you're about to take them on by asking key questions to get them in their imagination, because they got noise in their head. Things are happening to them. Things are happening to the people that they care about. Things are happening to the people that they work with on a regular basis, and just things happening in life. Life be lifing, and all those things affect us. We're living in a time that most people don't have a clue who they are because they're caught up in the distractions of life. There's so much chaos and distractions that are going on now. And so the people that are going to come out on the other side and make a greater impact are people who decide that they're going to tune out the noise of the world. They decide they're going to keep the main thing, the main thing. And that's what I had to do when I was sleeping in my car, going from city to city. And then finally I earned enough money, I could catch a Greyhound bus. And then I got an office. Now I didn't have money for office furniture, and I was sleeping on the floor. So it's a gradual process, but all of those things, they help you to develop your character. And I believe in all of us, there's a knowingness. Now, most people do what I did. For years, when I saw these speakers that I admired and been listening to, how can I do that? Well, one of the things I encourage people, when you have a goal, a dream, or something that you want to do, don't ask how. By the time I got to my car, when I asked, Les, how would you do that? My mind became activated. My heart said, I can do that. The heart has a knowingness about it, but the mind has been conditioned to be practical, logical, and realistic. It said, Les, you can't do that. You don't have the money. You don't have the education. You don't have any credentials. And so I say to people, when there's an argument between your mind and your heart, follow your heart. Where your heart is, there your treasure is also.
Oh, I love that. I need to hear your story. Like, walk us through, like, how did your life unfold? Because it is so interesting.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to think about your goals and dreams. And as you think about them, I think about how I got here. I was born in an abandoned building on a floor with my twin brother in Miami, Florida. And we were put in foster care, and ultimately we were adopted. And I often say when I'm speaking to audiences, all that I am and all that I ever hope to be, I owe to my mother, that God took me out of my biological mother's womb and placed me in the heart of my adopted mother. And my mother used to take me to work with her. And the family that she worked for, Mr. Sedersky, he used to listen to motivational messages. I was required to shine his shoes and clean his office. My brothers and sisters, the neighbors would look out for them, but they told my mother, Mamie, you're going to have to take Leslie to work with you because he's a little touched in the head.
Okay.
I was always getting into trouble. And so, but Mr. Sedersky, when I heard him listening to Earl Nightingale, all of us are self-made, but only the successful will admit it. Winston Churchill, the truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it, ignorance may deride it, but at the end, there it is. That he was programming himself for success. This man was a multimillionaire on Miami Beach. And I heard him say to his son one day, David, if you want to be successful, watch rich people and do what they do, and watch poor people and don't do what they do. And what I saw was that he was encouraging his son to follow his path of developing his mind. And I bought into that. And I started listening to those motivational messages with a deeper level of commitment, living in poverty when we go across the Venetian Causeway from Miami Beach, where all the wealth was, over into Miami, where it's drug infested and a lot of poverty. And so, ladies and gentlemen, when you have a goal or a dream, that dream will pull you through some tough times. And you're going to have some tough times. You're going to have rejections and setbacks. People are going to disappoint you. You're going to lose money and have money embezzled from you. I had over $420,000 embezzled from me. And it's called life. Things happen. And so as you look at yourself and look at your goals, create a plan of action for yourself, because Robert Schuller had a point and was real in teaching the philosophy of possibility thinking. People don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. You've got to have a plan of action of something that you're going to do. You want to create a blueprint and a code of behavior that you have and the things that you're going to do to become the person that will be able to accomplish the goals that you have against all odds. And also, you've got to be willing to embrace the challenges and the setbacks. Walt Disney, he had an experience with Universal Studios. He had his first successful cartoon was Oswald, the Lucky Rabbit. And Universal Studios took it from him. And he didn't have the resources to fight them to win and get Oswald back. But because of that, we all know these words, M-I-C, see you real soon. K-E-Y. Why? Because we like you. M-O-U-S-E. That gave birth to Mickey Mouse. Trust me on this. Whatever you're going through, I've got a saying, as life knocks you down, try and land on your back. Because if you can look up, you can get up. I'm saying to you, this is not the end of the story. There is more in you. Continue to push. Don't stop. Even a broke clock is right twice a day. So I'm going to get the butter from the duck now.
I love that. I mean, I went through similar. I was ripped off for about 400,000 pounds, about $500,000 when I started out in real estate. So I definitely know what you mean, that pain, that stress, going through that. So one of your breakthroughs.
Now, that's the point. Yeah. But listen, when you speak, people want to identify with you. They want to be able to relate to you. And they want to create a connection with you. People cannot identify with artificial intelligence. They can't relate to it. It's a scraper. Yeah. They won't develop a relationship with it and a connection. And that's what you have the opportunity to do when you're speaking to people. And so the goal is to orchestrate a presentation that people will feel he's talking to me.
One of your breakthrough steps on your journey was when you got into radio. How did that happen?
I asked Mr. Washington, sir, I want to be successful. And he said, why? I said, because I want to take care of my mother. When I turn 18, I want mama to be able to sit down. I don't want her to pay any bills. I'll be a man. And he said, how you plan to do that? I said, I'd like to become a disc jockey. And I just was fascinated with the radio personalities that I heard on radio during that time. And he said, listen, he said, develop your mind, develop your communication skills, because once you open your mouth, You tell the world who you are. See yourself being a DJ, talking to thousands of people. And then one day he said, I trained the top radio personality, WMBM radio station, Milton Butterball Smith. I trained him. I want you to go to him, tell him I sent you and ask for a job. So I did. And when I went there, I said, hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I like to be a disc jockey. And he said, young man, you have any experience in broadcasting? I said, no, sir, I don't. I said, but I see myself on the air. I practice all the time. I listen to you all the time. You have no experience. No, sir. He said, we don't have any job for you. I said, thank you, sir. So I went to Mr. Washington. I said, he told me no. I couldn't even get out of my mouth what I wanted to do and the kind of show I wanted to have. He said, don't worry about it. Don't take it personally. Most people are so negative, they'll say no 7 times before they say yes. He said, you got to be hungry. Go back again. So I went back again. Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I like to be a disc jockey. He asked me, Jess, weren't you here yesterday? I said, yes, sir. Didn't I tell you no yesterday? Yes, sir. Then why are you back today? Well, sir, I didn't know whether or not somebody was laid off or somebody was fired, sir. No one was laid off or fired. Now get on out of here. I came back the next day, talking loud, looking happy, like I was singing for the first time. Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I like to be a disc jockey. Weren't you here the last 2 days? Yes, sir. Didn't I tell you the last 2 days that we don't have any job for you? I said, yes, sir. Then why are you back today? Well, sir, I didn't know whether or not someone got sick or someone died, sir. No one got sick or died. No one was laid off or fired. Now don't you come back here again. I came back the next day, talking loud, looking happy, walking like I had the world under control, saying, hello, Mr. Butterball, how are you? And he looked at me with rage. He said, go get me some coffee. I said, yes, sir. And so I wore down his resistance to me, and I became the errand boy for the disc jockeys. I'd go get their lunch and their dinner. And when entertainers came to town, I would drive them all over Miami Beach in the big, long Cadillacs of these disc jockeys. I didn't have any driver's license, but I was driving like I had some, okay? And then one day at the radio station, a disc jockey by the name of Rockin' Roger was drinking while he was on the air, and he began to slur his words. It was a Saturday afternoon, and I was the only one there looking at him through the control room window, walking back and forth, young, ready, and hungry. I was saying, drink, rock, drink. I'd go and get him some more if he'd asked me to. And then the general manager called. I answered the phone and said, hello. He said, young boy, this is Mr. Klein. I said, yes, sir. He said, Rock can't finish his show. He's slurring his words. I said, yes, sir. He said, I want you to call one of the other DJs and tell him to come in and take over. All right? I said, yes, sir. I hung the phone up. I said, now he must think I'm crazy. I called my mama and my girlfriend, Cassandra. I told them to come out on the front porch and turn up the radio. I'm about to come on the air, tell all the neighbors. And so then I waited about 20 minutes and I called him back. I said, Mr. Klein, I can't find nobody. He said, young boy, do you know how to work your controls? I said, yes, sir. He said, go in there, but don't you say nothing here. I said, yes, sir. I couldn't wait to get Rockin' Roger out of the way. Stevie Wonder, he was 12 years old. He had a song called Fingertips, and that was the first record I played. I said, look out, this is me, LB Triple P, Les Brown, your platter playing papa. There were none before me, and there will be none after me. Therefore, that makes me the one and only. Young and single and love to mingle. Certified, bona fide, and indubitably qualified to bring you satisfaction and a whole lot of action. Look out, baby, I'm your love man. I was hungry. And I got the job.
Oh, man,
that was
that's
the beginning.
Insane.
There's something about life. It's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. I was ready to take advantage of that.
I love that. So in this story, who was Mr. Washington?
Mr. Washington was a high school teacher who told me he wanted me to go to the board and work a problem out in front of the class. I was looking for a friend of mine named MacArthur Stevens, and I said, I can't do that, sir. And he said, why not? I said, I'm not one of your students. He said, do what I'm asking you to do anyhow. I said, I can't, sir. He said, why? And the other students started laughing, saying, he's Leslie. He's got a twin brother, Wesley. Wesley's smart. He's DT. And he asked, what's DT? And they said, he's the dumb twin. And he looked at me. I agreed. I said, I am, sir. And he came from behind his desk. He said, don't you ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Do you hear me? I said, yes, sir. And on one hand, I was humiliated, but on the other hand, I was liberated, because if you look at a man the way that he is, he only becomes worse. But look at him as if he were what he could be, then he becomes what he should be. And he inspired me to want to do more with my life, with my voice and my story, than just doing what I was doing, talking to the young ladies. Hey, baby, they call me Mr. Vocabulary. Why? Because linguistically or rationally, I'm emphatic that I possess an etymology, which is simply incomparable. However, I want to be like Columbus and discover you.
Smooth.
Yes. Those are my pre-save years, whatever.
I like it. Very smooth. All right, let's get a little tangible and talk about, it's possible. Can you share with us a 30-day, it's possible plan that we all listening to you here today can implement?
One, I think that everyone should think about what is it they want to do with their life. Mm-hmm. And don't stop by asking, how will I do it? There's some things that you can do that you don't know right now. You have to be intelligently ignorant. You got to be willing to commit yourself to go for it, because all of us are born the same way, dumb, naked, and speechless. You can learn. I spent a whole day with Maya Angelou, she was a brilliant writer and communicator. And I said, you are such a gifted communicator, Miss Angelou. And she said, I get insulted when people tell me I'm a gifted communicator. And I asked, why? She said, show me a gifted heart surgeon. She said, I study. I work at this. And I do the same thing when people say I'm gifted. I put in the work. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did the speech, I Have a Dream, over 200 times. And so you've got to be willing to put in the work. Most people won't do that. There's no competition. Most people following the herd. You want to follow your heart. Do what's in your heart. Something that you love so much that you don't need an alarm clock to wake up in the morning. And so you want to do as much research in that area to find out everything that you can so that you can master it. There's a book called Average is Over. This is no time to be average. This is a time that you want to stand out. You must be extraordinary. You want to be so impactful that people will have to pay attention to you and pay for the service that you're providing, holding yourself to a higher standard and always looking for ways you can better your best, that you can take what you're doing to the next level. And the other thing is, I have a group of people that challenge me, that know more than I do. You want to surround yourself with people that you can learn from, that you can grow from, people that hold you to a higher standard, people that bring out the best in you. Harvard University did a study of 1%ers, and they wanted to know what was it about them that allowed them to reach their goals. What did they have in common? And when they found out, they had a reference group, just like what you're doing. You have a community of people that have goals and dreams. They work together. They've developed strategic relationships. Relationships is the new currency. And so when you're in a community like you have created, when people run into problems and they want some things that's on a door, on the other side of a door that they don't know anybody there, the people in the community can give them some ideas or some contacts or resources that will allow them to have a breakthrough. So you're doing something that's very important. Mental resiliency, building a community of like-minded people who have goals and dreams, who want to build a legacy, who want to live a life that will outlive them. And use artificial intelligence to amplify your movement or your message and use it as a tool as opposed to being intimidated by it.
I love that. I love that. So if we can take one thing now that we should be doing in the next 30 days, what would you tell us? Like, this is the number one thing I want you to implement.
The number one thing I want you to become clear about, who are you? When I think about the poet who said the two most important days in our lives, the day that you're born and the day you realize what are you born. The day you're born and the day you realize why you were born. Who are you? What do you want? Where are you going? And who's going with you? Having moments of listening, tuning out the world and all the distractions and chaos, getting still and being present with yourself to find out, why are you here? I mean, here I am 80 and I'm thinking, Les, I used to think people in their 40s were old. Now that I'm 80, I feel I served at the Lord's Supper, but I got some good tips. I said, who does this? 80? I mean, 20 more years, I'll be 100. My God. And so you start thinking about, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? My grandchildren had a meeting with me. I have 5 daughters and 5 sons. And the Lord said, be fruitful and multiply. I took him seriously, okay? And I have 15 grandchildren and 5 great-grands. And they call me Papa. Papa, how would you want us to live our lives in the future? And I said, live your life the way you want to leave your life. And that way you'll live a life of no regrets. Live your life the way you want to leave your life. What resonates with you? What's in your heart? What feeds your spirit and your soul? Align yourself with that and go for it.
You know, if you didn't tell me you were 80, I'd never believe it. I would never guess it. So what do you do to stay young, to stay energetic? Like, what's the secret?
Well, when we are born, we favor our parents. As we get older, we look like the life we've lived. And part of it is just waking up with a spirit of gratitude. I wake up, I say, Lord, whatever I face today, together, you and I can handle it. And don't allow people to drain you. One of the things I wish people who are listening to me now, don't be the go-to person for people you can't go to. If you allow people to drain you and to use you and abuse you, they will. You've got to hold yourself to our highest standard. You got to honor yourself. I spoke to some kids the other day from 12 to 18. I said, you're not going to be young forever. I used to be young, but now I'm older. And so start thinking now what you want to do in the future, because you're molding now what you will be in the future. And align yourself with that and be selective of your friends. If you run around with 9 broke people, you'll end up being number 10. Surround yourself with people you can learn from, you can grow from, that will inspire you and bring the best out of you. Create a community of collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships. The same thing that you've done. You know the stuff that you're asking me. You're up in there, and I know you're coming for me, but I'm not scared of you. No.
Well, I'm about to challenge you because we end every interview with 5 rapid fire questions. So are you ready for the lightning round?
Let's go.
All right. What is the best investment you've ever made under $1,000?
Me.
You personally?
Yes. I bought a motivational program, and that program, as I listened to it over and over again, began to feed my mind, my spirit, built my confidence, and increased my belief in myself, and that I had the ability to reach my goals. Investing in yourself is the most important investment you can make.
Nice. Who was the teacher of that program?
That program was Earl Nightingale. He said, we become what we think about. All of us are self-made, but only the successful will admit it. Bob Proctor, you're born rich. I listen to these guys all the time.
Nice. I love that. All right. So what is a quote that you live by?
When the end comes for you, let it find you conquering a new mountain, not sliding down an old one. Always
I like
continue
that
to
one.
raise the bar on yourself.
Awesome. What is one success myth that you'd retire today?
You can't do it because you don't know what you can't do. I paid a guy thousands of dollars. He was a high-ranking corporate executive for Ohio Bell. And I went to him because I admired his achievements. And after I gave him my certified check, he said, "Can I be honest with you, Les?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I wouldn't hire you." I said, "Why?" He said, "I have a PhD and an MBA. I'm the vice president of a major corporation. And you're talking about earning more in 1 hour than I would earn working for a whole month." He said, "No, I couldn't justify it." He said, "Go back to radio. You were good in it. People love you, and you can get a job in any market." And I said, "Thank you." His wife, Roma, said they came to the kitchen window and they watched me get in the car with my mentor, Mike Williams. He saw this Les Brown before I saw him. He wrote a book called The Road to Your Best Stuff. I wrote the foreword for it. The Road to Your Best Stuff. Get the book. Powerful. And she asked him, "Ed, do you think he's going to listen to you and take your advice?" He said, "No." And she said, "Les, I was shocked." I asked him, "Why not? He loves you. He looks up to you. He paid you thousands of dollars to train him." And he said, "He doesn't know enough to know he can't do it." You don't know enough to know you can't do something. But most people, they stop themselves. Most people come up and build a strong case against themselves. No, you got to go for it. Even a broke clock is right twice a day. And the good thing about your goals is not the accomplishment of the goals, is what you become in pursuit of the goal. That's more important.
Oh, I love that. So what's coming up for you in the next 12 months? What's next for you?
One of the people that I trained, Dr. Miles Monroe, he was a great orator and minister. He passed. And he said, "Brown," he said, "there's no success without successors." He said, "In life, there are people being pushed up and there are people being pushed off. You are at a point now, you need to start training and teaching others how to tell their story, how to make it against the odds, how to use their knowledge and their skills to live a life of purpose and meaning, live full and die empty, and teach them how to rob the cemetery of their talents, abilities, and their skills." So that's where I am now. And people who have an interest in our program, they can email me at lesbrown77@gmail.com. It's lesbrown77@gmail.com. We will vet them because I don't work with everybody, and tell them to say that they heard me on your show. It would give them something special. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, I will add that in the show notes. And Jerry did promise me that you have a really special surprise for everyone who reaches out.
Yes, because we need voices of peace, voices of harmony, of voices that will give people hope. When there's hope in the future, it gives you power in the present. People are still recovering from COVID. And when you look at all the disruptions that's going on economically and politically around the world, people need to know they can do it, that it's possible. And it's necessary that you die to who you are now to give birth to who you are to become. You know, in Lion King, Simba, you're more than that which you have become.
I love that. And I agree. It's so important. That's why I'm so happy that you're speaking at our summits and that we're able to spread your message to, thousands, tens of thousands of people all over the world.
Thank you so much. I'm excited about doing it. I love this.
Well, Les, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you've had a very busy schedule, so thank you so much. Do you have any final message you want to leave us with before we let you go?
Yes. First of all, thank you for who you are, because you are building a community that's not focused on entertaining people. And there are moments you have good moments and entertaining things that can have fun and joy, enjoy each other and engage in fun things. but there's something in you, and people like you and me. I call it the can't help it, that we can't help it. We got to make our mark. We've got to live full and die empty. We've got to live a life that will outlive us. So congratulations. I see you as one of my spiritual sons, and you get to see a future that I won't see, but I'll be on the other side saying, go for it. That's what I'm talking about. You're a masterpiece. You're a piece of the master. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. You're an absolute superstar, and we'll see you again at the next event.
Thank you. Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Thank you again for joining us for this amazing episode with Les Brown. I hope you've subscribed to the Swedish Wealth Institute podcast so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. We have episodes planned with Jack Canfield, Dr. John DeMartini, Marcy Shimoff, and next week, I'm interviewing Lewis Crompton, who is one of the most successful investors and traders and one of our key speakers at our Your Path to Financial Freedom Summits. He has helped thousands of our clients reach financial freedom through trading, and he's going to talk to us about what are the risks, how do we avoid them, and his journey that went from being ostracized to becoming trained personally by Robert Kiyosaki, training on behalf of the Rich Dad organization, and then finally starting Star Trading Now, where he has changed lives all over the world. So please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. And of course, before I let you go, I have another gift for you. As we always do with the Swedish Wealth Institute, we want to over-deliver. And today, I want to give you a chance to connect to some of the top speakers in the world. If you go to swedishwealthinstitute.com/events, you have the link down in the show notes, you will find a link to our events page. On the events page, you will find 2 Your Path to Financial Freedom Summits. The first one is for the European time zone. It is the 9th to the 12th of October, 4 days where you'll meet Les Brown again. You'll have Robert Kiyosaki, Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy, Nick Vujicic, and 20 other amazing speakers from all over the world that are going to help you reach your goals and dreams. It is 4 days completely free, and I want to offer you a free ticket. Now, if the European time zone doesn't work for you, don't worry. The 26th to the 29th of, the 23rd to the 26th of October, we have the US time zone. So if that works better for you, go and check that out and claim your free ticket. Those 4 days will be full of learning, of lessons, and value. And I can promise we got more gifts planned for you. So again, thank you so much for joining us. Please make sure you subscribe, and I will see you in future episodes and at future summits. Thank you so much for today. Lewis Crompton built Star Trading Now and teaches simple, rules-based strategies used by thousands. He'll show you how to trade with a plan that you can follow.
One of the things I was very conscious of is that in that moment, it was a choice to create change. And so I printed off a piece of paper and I put it above my bed on the ceiling, not on the wall, above my bed. I had written on that piece of paper, printed out, was change requires action. And I'm a big believer that desiring and wanting change isn't enough. Change is an action, it's a choice. And so every day you have to choose that change and choose to take a step to move you towards that change.